Welcome to the first of its kind. An exclusive Combat Cow review. I've done a long-term review on a few headphones and I wanted to share my results. So here you go. I'm going to turn this way down. I'm going to turn that off, in fact, and we're going to go to our product review. All right, here's the thing. Basically, this is my whole purpose, is I wanted to, let me just open this up. I wanted to give you an insider's view, someone who has actually tried these headphones out and formed my own opinions on it, and I wanted to give you what I've found as a result of this. Basically, I've got three contenders here. I have the Sony, these were the MDR 1000X, the 2016 model, fantastic headphones. We've got the Beats Studio 2 in the black and red, and then we've got the Bose Quiet Comfort 35. And it's mainly about these three, but there is actually one more. There was the, if I can find it, JBL. I think it was 750 Elite Everest. That sounds right. Yeah. Yeah, it was these ones. And again, these are all a previous gen model headphone, but I thought I would do a review anyway because who knows how they hold up, right? It's like the review comes out when these products come out and then no one really follows up to tell you how they did. For me, I was able to purchase and try out the JBLs here, the QC35s, and the Beats, which the Beats are, they're maybe one of the more popular brands. And then the Sonys, I was able to try as a friend purchased them. I got to put them through the paces just to hear them out. So anyway, we basically have four contenders. Beats, Sony, Bose, and JBL. Now, the main factors that I'm putting into this are basically the way that I'm breaking this down is going to be by importance: price, sound signature, convenience, feel, finish, and quality. And those last two kind of feel like maybe they go together or whatever, and maybe they do. So, so how did they perform? That's really the question. Basically, I was able to get these and put them through a bunch of different song scenarios where I was at work and listening through the same song set to hear how they performed. And for me, I ended up, I'll give you the answer right away, which is I ended up going with the Beats Studio 2s, but it took a lot of decision making to get to that point. And ultimately, it came down to price. I couldn't find the QC35s in the price range that I was looking for, and the JBLs honestly weren't of the same quality, and you can kind of tell from their purchase price here because the others are in closer to the $300 mark, overall. And I think they were all $380 at the time was pretty much the going rate, except for the JBLs. The JBLs just didn't have the sound quality that I was looking for. And then they also felt their fit and finish. They just felt cheap and plasticky. And I didn't like that. They didn't fold up nice and they didn't have a carrying case. It kind of made it to where I didn't consider them, in this running anymore. And so I immediately returned those. The QCs, this is going to be more of a preference of what you like in terms of a sound signature. And the QC35s have a nice clean sound, but they do tend to be a little bit shrill for the highs, at least for my ear, for my taste. And after I kind of assessed that, I decided that was the killing factor for this particular headphone. Although I will say, honorable mention, Their noise cancellation was the best of anything. In fact, they're around the ear. So they've got two models, right, in the 35 size. They've got the Quiet Comfort, which is the active noise canceling, and you can turn that on and off, and it works fantastic. Their around the ear are just an over the ear headphone, 35, same size, essentially the same sound signature. They were much less. They were like $100 less, and those were almost an option for me. Those ones, even though they didn't have active noise canceling, did overall a better job of canceling noise coming from exterior to my head, to my actual ears, than the Beats active noise canceling. Which, since we're talking about Beats, these ones were touted to have active noise cancellation, and while it does work, it's just not great. It works while you're maybe like in a plane. It helps cut down on that machine noise, that engine sound. But in terms of talking, it didn't do the greatest job. I could hear more through these headphones than the non-active Bose competitor. And finally, this is actually my my number one pick, the Sonys. After I tried these out, their Bluetooth was the major killer for me. They weren't quite convenient enough. They would occasionally lose Bluetooth connection, and sometimes they would just get weird, as Bluetooth headsets will do. But I feel like the Bose and the Beats did a better job of managing all of that, and they made it a little more convenient in that way. Because it was like when the Sonys, when they would crash, I would just have problems with them from then on, and it made it really difficult. So I looked at all of these over a year ago, and the purchase that I ended up making was this exact set. Now, the reason that I made this purchase too was almost more based on price. I was able to find a refurb or whatever, a made like new or an open box, and they were $125 when these were normally going for $280, $380, retail. So it was a big enough cost savings to where I kind of rolled the dice. And I wouldn't always do that, but in this price category for the time, for me, that's what I had to do. So maybe that's not a factor for you. But my guess is that it is if you're watching this video, because you're looking at over a year old headphones. So here's my setup. I want to share this. These are the actual headphones that I purchased, and they originally came with this case. And I think I had to purchase the cable separately because of the way that I bought them. But the cable was so worth it. I ended up liking this almost as much as the headphones. And these Beats cables, there's just something about them. They feel really nice, and they look, they're pretty iconic, which is maybe less of an issue for me. But I enjoy it regardless. This one does not have the microphone, in line, which I don't care about. I just wanted it to have a connected option if I was going to go that route. But overall, you probably know mostly how they work. It's got some controls over on the side, volume up, volume down, and then play, pause. And you can charge from the bottom here. And it's just got clean LEDs. So a good set of headphones, especially for $125. You could probably find them even for cheaper than that now. So that might be, that could be your purchasing factor. Maybe you can find them for $100 flat, or $75 here or there, or whatever. I feel like there's a lot of parts for them too, so if anything did go wrong, you'd probably be able to fix them or just figure something out where you were able to make them work for a longer time. The Bose are going to be that way as well. The Sonys, maybe not. They just might not be quite as serviceable. So, and if you're looking into convenience, you're probably not as interested in working on your own headphones. But for me, this was the right choice. It's what I went with, and overall, I'd recommend them. The sound signature on these is quite bassy, and I tend to like that. But they've held up. What you can see. Oh, let me put this back on. Yeah. You can see they've held up quite nicely. These are the original, ear cups. I used them quite a bit, but it was nothing that was like insane use. And the other thing that you want to look for if you do get some Beats, make sure it's got the at least the Studio 2s have the model number and the serial number inside that band. There's a lot of fakes out there for Beats because it's such a high profile deal. So things to keep in mind. But let me just make sure I covered all my topics, and I feel like that's the main thing right there. So yeah, just in wrapping up, again, I know these are all old headphones, but for me, the right choice was to go with something that was pre-owned or used, and kind of roll the dice. It was the money I had, and so they ended up being a really good choice for me. The case and the really nice premium speaker cable, that was also a determining factor for me. And then the Bluetooth, I did want it to be wireless, but it was less important that it was wireless. It was more important that I had something a little more current and that would last me a long time. And they've gone a couple years, and I've traveled with them, and anyways, they've been a really decent product. However, I would not, if I was just purchasing at the retail price, I'm pretty sure I would have gone with the Sonys because they were just superior in terms of sound quality. Their sound signature was the best. It didn't have the, at times, overwhelming bass of the Beats headphones. Some of the lower end electronic music that I listen to can get a little bit lost because of the 40 millimeter drivers, and the Sony just handled them better. So it's got an overall better sound signature, and it's one that I prefer over Bose. And that's it for Combat Cow. Make sure you stick around, get involved in the community, look around at the different links, and I'm happy to have you on board. See you next time.